Gold Rush.
I love reading historical novels. I also have loved reading history. What fascinates me is the things that are in the background. Characters who speak but aren't listened to. I'm drawn to those topics.
Actor Michelle Williams, another Oscar nominee, on being part of Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans, and Sami singer Maxida Marak tells us about the role traditional singing has in her life. Also on the show, Iranian actress Amir Ibrahimi, who stars in Ali Abbasi's film Holy Spider. There's Carnatic music from Sushma Soma and Aditya Prakash, and my conversation with Swedish author Ann-Helén Lastadius. All that and more coming up on the Arts Hour.
Hello, I'm Emily Thomas with the BBC News. Strong aftershocks and tremors have struck parts of southern Turkey following two devastating earthquakes on Monday. More than 5,000 people are now known to have died in Turkey and northern Syria. With daylight, rescue teams and local residents have stepped up the search for survivors under the rubble of scores of collapsed buildings. Tom Bateman reports from Adana in southern Turkey.
Tens of thousands of people are homeless, and many have spent the night sleeping outside or in cars for fear of the effect of aftershocks on buildings. The rescue efforts are being badly hampered, with a winter storm adding to the crisis and many areas completely inaccessible. Adana is a hub for rescue operations, but some roads in the region lie in ruins. The airport is packed with rescue workers waiting to be deployed and relatives arriving seeking news. Disaster teams in Istanbul said they were dispatching command centres and mobile kitchens, as well as 300,000 blankets.
Aid from Iran and Iraq has arrived overnight in northern Syria. Russia is sending 300 soldiers. The Syrian Red Crescent has said it will distribute aid in both government and rebel-held areas. An international Red Crescent official, Mars Brink-Hansen, said the situation in Syria was very difficult.
Here, the humanitarian needs are already high after 12 years of crisis. There is no electricity, there is no fuel, there's very limited access to public services, including health services. There's rising inflation, skyrocketing prices. So we are faced with a population here that has very, very limited resilience to withstand an emergency like the current one.
A new United Nations report has suggested the most common factor driving people to join extremist groups in sub-Saharan Africa is not religion, but poverty. The report surveyed thousands of people in 8 African countries. The survey noted that one extra year of education significantly reduced a person's likelihood of joining an extremist group. The UK energy company BP has become the latest to report record annual profits for last year. They almost doubled to nearly $28 billion. Here's Simon Jack.
Oil and gas prices were already rising at the beginning of last year as energy demand surged after its COVID slump. The war in Ukraine saw Russian supplies shut off or shunned, which saw prices soar. Like Shell last week, BP's profits are the highest in its history, which has already provoked anger from some groups as millions of households and businesses struggle to pay their bills in a year that the BP boss described the company as a cash machine. The company also announced it would miss its target for reducing oil and gas production.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is in Mali on a visit expected to focus on security ties. Mali is hosting several hundred Russian mercenaries of the Wagner Group. BBC News. Goma in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has seen a second day of protests, with demonstrators bringing the city to a standstill. They've accused the UN and a regional force set up last year of failing to support the Congolese army in its battle against the Rwandan-backed M23 rebel group. The UK's latest military intelligence update says it's unlikely that Russia can build up enough forces over the next few weeks to substantially change the outcome of its war in Ukraine. It says while Russia has probably been trying to restart a major offensive since early January, it almost certainly lacks the munitions and units it needs. A South Korean court has, for the first time, acknowledged atrocities carried out by the country's troops during the Vietnam War. A court in Seoul ordered compensation for a Vietnamese woman injured in a massacre. Jean Mackenzie reports from Seoul.
There hasn't been one on this scale for almost a century. There was a terrible earthquake in Turkey in 1939 that killed 30,000 people, and that's what officials here are likening this disaster to. But we're really still in the very infancy of finding out how widespread the damage is, how many people have been killed, how many people have been displaced, how badly infrastructure has been affected. And then you've got to remember that although the numbers over the border in Syria look lower, we really don't know how badly affected many areas there have been. We've heard from disaster groups on the ground, local individuals who are trying to help, saying that they simply cannot get to some areas, that people are shouting out from the rubble and not getting any response because they are just too thinly stretched there. So the scale of what's going on really will be revealed.
For a second, if I may. The rescue workers are shouting out the names of the children. Let's just let that sink in, should we? They're shouting out the names of kids that are trapped beneath this rubble. No reply. Their parents are standing silently now, waiting, hoping against hope that their children will be found. That pause, nothing from that, I'm afraid. Sorry, Siobhan, I interrupted you, but I just wanted to make that point as we were hearing the children's names being shouted.
No, of course, Ken, it's important to keep showing people at home not just the physical impact of this disaster, but also the emotional one and what thousands of people are going for, desperately hoping that in the window that's rapidly closing, they will be able to find their loved ones. They will be the lucky ones who bring people out alive. And we have seen some survivors from yesterday, for example, a young child being brought out. I've seen images of a man being squeezed through a tiny hole, managed to carry out on a stretcher, brought to hospital. So there are stories of hope and there is happiness in the darkness here, but the problem is it is so widespread, the damage, and we're focusing now on big areas, big cities that have seen lots of buildings falling down, but what we really don't know is what's happened to the rural communities that are close to the epicenter. How widespread is the damage there?
Yeah, and we're going to be hearing from Alex Crawford in just a moment, actually. She's travelling to Antakya, which is near the Syrian border, and we will bring you her eyewitness report in just a second. Before we do that, this scene, as we bring it to our viewers live here on Sky News this morning, just over 24 hours ago, this was a 7-storey apartment building. This is what's left of it now. And this is being repeated in thousands of buildings right around this country, isn't it, Siobhan?
Yes, and we've seen it's not just apartment blocks that have been damaged, it's shops, it's hospitals. I'm sure Alex will bring you up to date on what she's been seeing, but I was reading one of her reports this morning saying that, a whole hospital has collapsed, patients inside in intensive care there who are trying to be treated, people who are desperately in need of help already among those who have now been injured or sadly died. And that's the other big question now. How long will it take to repair? What will happen to those thousands of people we already know are displaced? Will there be further casualties because of further aftershocks? We've already seen 14 aftershocks in that region since midnight, some of them extremely strong. So while we're still in this very specific time, this time of hope where people still have this chance to find loved ones, it's also extremely dangerous because the aftershocks are continuing, the infrastructure is down, we know how cold it is on the ground there, and many people are now homeless.
Yeah, let's hear now, should we, from Alex. This is her report from Antakya.
Virtually every building here has been affected in some way. If I could show you a 360-degree circle around here, which I can't because the signal is not strong enough, but there are damaged buildings all around me. Behind me was an 8-storey residential building. There are just a few volunteers who are trying to use pickaxes and their bare hands to take out rubble. I'm being told that you can actually see, if we can we'll try and tentatively turn around here, because on this other building here they're hearing voices as well, and they try every now and again, they tell us to be quiet so that they can use their small drills. That's all they've got to try and drill down. There's people shouting on the top of that building. They've already taken out at least 4 corpses this morning, and they're shouting now, saying that they've heard people beneath. A lot of people in this province feel that they have been forgotten, that they haven't received help, that they're still not getting help. We saw crowds of people looting one of the supermarkets, saying that they were hungry, they had nowhere to stay, no homes, no food, and crucially, no help at the moment. We understand that the main government hospital here has been deserted of medical staff. It's partially destroyed. Infrastructure has been affected badly. There are still patients in there. Some of them have been killed by the earthquake. Others have died because they haven't been looked after in the interim since the earthquake. This area is still very vulnerable to aftershocks and further earthquakes, and there have been multiple throughout the whole of the Turkey-Syria region.
Alex, heading towards the Syria border. Of course, Syria very much impacted by this latest earthquake that has claimed so many lives already. The death toll undoubtedly will continue to rise as the workers here pause once again to try to hear from the 35 people who are still trapped beneath the rubble of this building. We arrived. It was very difficult to get here, as you can imagine. A lot of the flights have been commandeered by relief workers, as it should be, making their way to the airport here at Urfa, just on the outskirts of Urfa. We did finally get here this morning, and leaving that incredibly crowded airport, there were relief workers. We didn't see any dogs, but we saw a lot of those workers, international aid workers, who had come from right around the world, really weary from hastily organised relief flights. They were lying, sleeping on the floor. They were wandering around, waiting to be told what to do. Occasionally there was a shout for more doctors and nurses if they were in the arrivals hall to get into vehicles quickly and head to here, the centre of Urfa. And then we saw the eager volunteers, no uniforms there, but they did have, as I was saying earlier, they did have helmets, they did have water, and they did have lots of hope. And they were just looking to offer as much support as they can, coming from areas of Turkey to the north that have not been impacted by this earthquake, knowing that potentially next time it really could be their homes that are devastated by an earthquake. It's called the East Anatolian fault line, and it goes through most of Turkey, actually. Parts of it just 20 kilometres or so from the capital, Istanbul. Gives you an idea of the threat that Mother Nature has on this country. Siobhan, we were talking about this 7 days of mourning that President Erdogan has put in place as of, I think, late last night. He also wants an awful lot of aid from right around the world.
Yes, that's right. And a similar picture to what you were describing at the local airport there is being played out at Istanbul airport here. I've been looking at scenes of what looks like thousands of people from the local community who've gathered what they can. Some of them have managed to get hold of high-vis jackets. They've got helmets. They're bringing water. They're going to the airport to try and get down on some of those flights to help with the rescue effort and the aid effort. And I was talking to our Turkish colleague here, and he was saying there are so many people at those airports now that they've been told they're not going to get on flights. So some of them have given up on that route, and they're now doing what they can to find cars to try and drive down towards the epicenter. Now, that's at least a 9 to 12 hour drive from here, but they are determined to help. And then away from what Turkish people are doing, we're seeing this massive international aid effort focused particularly on Turkey. So we've seen countries like the UK offering aid. We know that there are 76 specialist search and rescue teams that will be coming from the UK. They're going to bring with them some dogs, some specialist cutting equipment too, to help them get through the cement and the rubble.
Okay, as we pause again to listen for those trapped beneath the rubble, I'm just going to bring in Jane for a moment. She has some breaking news for us, I think. Jane, good morning.
Thanks, Kay. Just to let viewers know, Rishi Sunak is set to reshuffle his cabinet, the appointment of new Conservative Party chairman, also the possibility of reforms to Whitehall departments. Let's bring in our deputy political editor, Sam Coates. Sam, what do we know?
Good morning, Jane. A lot going on here in Downing Street this morning. Now, what's happening is a reshuffle triggered by the sacking 8 days ago of Nadhim Zahawi. He was the Tory party chair. But after thinking about it for the last few days, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has decided to do quite a lot more under the bonnet, tinkering with the way that his government works, which means actually there's quite a medium-sized reshuffle underway here in Downing Street, barely just over 100 days into his time in Downing Street. Here's what we know this morning. What he's going to do is he's basically going to split up quite a lot of the economic business departments and move some of the key elements around. So he's first of all going to create a new energy security department. Now, we believe that Grant Shapps, currently the business secretary, is in line to be the Secretary of State in that department, and that's partly a response to the enormous challenges that we're seeing with energy bills, energy prices, security of energy supply. Rishi Sunak, of course, making big promises in his leadership contest about making sure energy supply is independent within a matter of decades. So that's the first big change, creating an energy security department. The next thing is he's going to roll the Department for International Trade, of course, well known as a birthplace for figures like Liz Truss. Now that's actually going to be wrapped into the remains of the business department. Now we think that Kemi Badenoch, currently the Trade Secretary, was meant to be on a mission out of the country today. We think that she is going to become the new Secretary of State for Business and Trade. And then the third change that Rishi Sunak is going to make to the way that Whitehall works is to then bring together quite a lot of the science, innovation and technology departments. That's going to be probably sitting under the Secretary of State, Michelle Donnellan. She is in line for that job, and we wait to hear who is going to be in charge of the remains of the Culture Department. That, going back to the way that it existed about 5 years ago, that will just become the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, once again having lost all of the digital briefs. And as for the job vacated by Nadhim Zahawi, well, we expect that to go potentially to Greg Hands, veteran London-based Conservative, always a frequently wheeled out media performer. So we have the shape of what looks like the reshuffle this morning. Rishi Sunak trying to focus in on what he identifies the problems and key areas are. Of course, they're slightly different from the public priorities that he talks about endlessly, his 5 public priorities, but I think you get a sense of the importance to him of trying to promote growth, trying to protect energy security, and also focus in particular on digital industries, where he hopes that growth is going to come from in the months and years to come. Now, the cabinet meeting that was expected this morning has been pushed back, we are told, until this afternoon. We haven't had the traditional walk up from cabinet ministers who are being appointed. It's been done behind closed doors this morning. I suspect that reflects some of the complexity of simply reorganising Whitehall departments. It sounds like an easy press release. Actually, behind the scenes, it's now going to mean months and months of work of officials moving buildings, different people being put into different teams. Actually, that can slow down the immediate delivery of some priorities. But this is government as Rishi Sunak wants it to be run, and we'll get the remaining details later in the day.
Sam, thanks very much for that. We're going to take you back to Syria in a moment, but if you're joining us expecting to see Ian King live right now, Ian is presenting his show, but today you can watch it online on the Sky News website and on the app and on YouTube as well. You can scan a QR code to take you to Ian's programme. For now, hand you back to Kay.
Jane, within the last few moments, we're live here, of course, here in Ufa in Turkey. For viewers just joining us, this is an apartment building. Until the early hours of yesterday morning, 4:13 in the morning, this was a 7-storey apartment building where so many families were sleeping. It was before dawn when this earthquake hit the southeastern part of Turkey and across the border into Syria as well. 35 people, as I've been saying, still missing as a result of this building collapse. Loved ones have been gathering here, desperate for news of those who are still trapped beneath, including 2 young children. Their parents we have seen gathered here, and they're just getting too close. And so gently, delicately, but firmly, nonetheless, the army have moved in and told them that they need to move back. They are getting in the way of those that are trying to find their loved ones. And more than that, the buildings that are around this that collapsed are in danger of collapsing themselves, given the number of tremors that we have been seeing here in Turkey over the last couple of days. More than 100 just yesterday, including another earthquake as well, which measured, I should say, 7.5 on the Richter scale. So a significant earthquake in itself, much less than the 7.8 that caused the damage to this building. I was chatting yesterday morning to Alistair Bunkle, who was updating us throughout the morning from Jerusalem. We've been hearing about all the aid that's coming the way of the people here in Turkey. And what is it that they need, Alistair? What are we hearing from the Red Cross and from others?
So I think the need is on 2 levels. So there's the humanitarian need, that is basic food, water supplies, medicine, shelter for everybody who's lost their homes and are now displaced and are facing very tough conditions with the weather at the moment. So that is urgent. And then the second element of it is, of course, the expertise on the ground. The Turkish authorities, as you're witnessing, Kay, are very, very capable, but this is just too big a job for them to do alone, and so they need to bring in international help to find anyone who still might be trapped under the rubble. And they will use things like heat-seeking devices, microphones, pinhole cameras that they can weave in between the rubble and the blocks of concrete to see whether anybody is still alive down there, and of course sniffer dogs as well, which are incredibly effective in situations like this at locating bodies, whether they be alive or dead, under the rubble. So that is the international aid that is coming in to bolster the Turkish efforts. But I think where, and I've been speaking to some of our colleagues in Syria, where there's an awful lot of concern is that that kind of aid has not yet reached northwest Syria, and the situation in northwest Syria is every bit as bad, possibly worse, because of the result of many years of civil war, and they need that help desperately, but it's going to be complicated getting it in.
Yeah, we're just hearing, as you're chatting to us, Alistair, the call to prayer. Certain irony in that as we look at these images, but perhaps some of those prayers have been answered, because we're just hearing about a little girl who has been rescued from beneath the rubble in Syria. Very few details coming out of Syria at this stage. We know that, as you were saying there, potentially impacted even worse than the southeast of this country, Turkey. But this little one has been rescued by people who are doing exactly this sort of work that is in front of us as we talk to you this morning. And to that end, I can also tell you, a lot of people were asking me about the Ghanaian footballer. The Ghana Football Association says that the Chelsea and Newcastle forward, Christian Atsu, has been rescued. He has been rescued from the rubble of a collapsed building following the earthquake that struck Turkey and neighbouring Syria just yesterday. So some crumbs of good news are piercing through the images that you can see here, but it's absolutely heartbreaking as the army stands watch, and the volunteers and the professionals are doing what they can to try to get to those 35 people who are still trapped beneath the rubbish. I can tell you that they do seem to be stopping more and more often to listen for noises beneath this rubble. We're going to take some hope from that, I think. Siobhan, what do you think? you with me, Siobhan?
Can you hear me, Kay?
I can now, Siobhan, yes.
Kay, I was just saying, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
So I was saying that the rubble behind you is a scene that's being repeated across tens of areas across Turkey. We know at least 10 cities were hit during these massive quakes yesterday, and every single picture we're getting in from these areas are of huge mounds of rubble, numerous buildings that have pancaked. The top has not been able to be supported and has fallen down and through and collapsed the whole building. And so it's really mind-blowing to think of the scale of not just the rescue effort, but also later the rebuilding effort, because that really is the other focus. In order to ensure that more lives aren't lost, they need to get people who have managed to survive into safe places. So, for example, we've seen some people have been welcomed into churches, for example, or into schools, but there are thousands and thousands of people who are displaced, and we still really don't know the impact on smaller communities. We're focusing on the cities because often they're easier to get to, there's more social media, it's easier to see what's going on, but what's happening in those very small, isolated rural communities, and as Alistair was saying, over in Syria as well. So I think the focus now is particularly for the rescuers, this window of time to try and get people out of the rubble alive, but also to keep those who have managed to get out alive safe.
Yeah, the next 24 to 48 hours, absolutely crucial for those that are still trapped. There have been a number of aftershocks, more than 100 yesterday is what we're being told, and that is what these army officers in front of us are so concerned about. They're worried about buildings around us, they keep pushing local people back. They just want to know, of course, what's happening beneath this rubble, but the army are saying you need to move, we need to keep everybody as safe as we can. There's something like 200 collapsed buildings in the city where we are, and as you were saying, they're replicated right around this region. Help coming in from all over the world. The UK sending search and rescue teams with dogs, Spain sending rescue teams, Russia flying to Syria actually to help those who are impacted there, China getting involved as well, making donations to the Red Cross. The list goes on and on. Greece, Czech Republic, Iraq, but whatever is sent, it's not going to be enough for those people that have been so impacted by this earthquake, the worst that they have seen since 1939, when 30,000 people lost their lives. They need water, they need food, they need tents. It's bitterly cold here. As I'm talking to you, local people are actually starting to build fires to warm up while they wait for news of this devastation in front of us. Will they be able to rescue any or all of those that are trapped beneath the rubble? For now, back to you, Jane.
Okay, thanks very much. Just before we move on to some other news, just a reminder, you can watch Ian King live if you are tuning this way to watch that on the Sky News website and app as well. Also, there is a QR code that you can scan that should take you directly to Ian's programme. Now, in a few moments, we are expecting to get the sentencing in the David Carrick court case. This is, of course, the former Metropolitan Police officer who is expected to be jailed for a catalogue of violent sexual offences against 12 victims over 2 decades. Sky's crime correspondent Martin Brunt is at Southwark Crown Court for us. Martin, Mrs Justice Chima Grubb is going to give her sentencing. We're going to be able to take it live. What will she be considering today?
She'll start with a review of the evidence against Carrick, to which he's pleaded guilty, of course. 49 charges, mostly sex crimes, and she will go through some detail of those. It's going to be pretty uncomfortable listening, and we think she's going to spend about 90 minutes in total reviewing the evidence against him, talking again in some detail about what the victims of Carrick said yesterday. The first day of the sentencing was all about the victims. Most of the 12 victims made impact statements telling the judge how his crimes had affected their lives. There were stories of the pain inflicted, the fear inflicted on them, particularly his insistence that there was no point reporting what he was doing to them because they wouldn't be believed over the word of a police officer. Some of them went into great detail about how that affected them. But more broadly, some of those victims talked about the difficulties they've had in their own subsequent relationships. I spoke to a woman who is still a serving Metropolitan Police officer yesterday, a woman who must remain, like the majority of them, of those victims, must remain anonymous. But she talked about her guilt, particularly as a serving officer, a colleague of David Carrick. He raped her, she said, but she still didn't feel confident enough to report him because of the macho, male-dominated culture within the Metropolitan Police. She said if she had reported what he did to her, then her colleagues would have simply laughed at her. And she's carried that guilt for many years, because if she had reported him, he may well have been stopped and she could have saved the ordeals of those victims that came after her. So that was just one vivid example of these awful stories that were spelled out in court yesterday. The judge will go through some of that detail, and then of course she will come to explaining what the sentence will be and how she's arrived at it. And I expect her to spend quite a bit of time talking about the aggravating nature of Carrick's crimes, and that more than anything is the fact that he used his status as a police officer to instill fear in his victims, again telling them there's no point reporting what I'm doing, I'm a police officer. He used that, of course, when he met for the first time some of those victims, telling them, I'm a policeman, you'll be safe with me. And again, luring his victims in, making them feel comfortable and safe in his hands. And then, of course, changing his whole attitude to them and inflicting pain and, in many cases, raping them, and continuing in his Metropolitan Police career for more than 20 years. And of course some of the victims did complain about him, but no action was ever taken. 4 or 5 police forces were made aware of his predatory behaviour, but for one reason or another nobody joined the dots, nobody put together the jigsaw that would have shown them, if they had done it, a picture of this predatory criminal police officer who was still serving as a Metropolitan Police officer, again for some of that time as an armed officer with huge responsibilities. So all of that, I think, will be spelled out over the next hour and a half. There may be some delay to the 10:30 starts. There were issues yesterday with a link, because this is going to be broadcast live. Certainly we'll be taking it live on Sky News, as will 1 or 2 other broadcasters, we think. So it's going to be a very uncomfortable 90 minutes, at the end of which Carrick will learn what his sentence will be. Now, in theory, he could get a whole life sentence, but if he was to get that, he would be the first non-murderer to be given such a sentence. But it's really effectively already been ruled out. The prosecutor made it clear yesterday that he wasn't calling for a whole life sentence because Carrick had pleaded guilty, because he's shown remorse, so he doesn't really qualify on that basis. And his own lawyer said in his limited mitigation yesterday that whatever the sentence, and it's bound to be, I think, a minimum sentence in the 30s, 30 years plus, that will effectively, for Carrick, who's 48 now, probably take him to the end of his life. A fixed sentence will mean that at some stage he will be eligible for parole, but it would be a very brave parole board, I think, when that time does come, if he's still alive, to ask for parole, it would be a very brave parole board to assess that he shows only a small risk to the public. But all of that is many, many years ahead.
And Martin, this case and also the case of David Cousins has really led to a real re-examination of the police, hasn't it? And we're expecting to get a certain amount of answers before the end of March.
Yes. Well, there are lots of issues there, aren't there? Certainly the issues around why wasn't Carrick vetted, even when he applied to join the Metropolitan Police in 2001, there was certainly intelligence, and there have been complaints about him, particularly by one former partner about his predatory behaviour. He'd been accused of burgling his former partner. He'd been accused of harassing her on her mobile phone. None of that was picked up, or if it was ignored when he was given his job, his first job as the Metropolitan Police Officer. He was vetted again in 2017 when he applied to become part of the Diplomatic Protection Group, which meant carrying a gun to protect embassies and the Houses of Parliament. By that stage, there were a whole list of complaints that had been made about him, harassing partners, that kind of behaviour. But for one reason or another, no action had ever been taken against him. And where it had been picked up by other forces, some of that information, intelligence if you like, had been relayed to the Metropolitan Police, but was still ignored. So what's happening now is every police force in England and Wales has been asked to review all its staff to look for any evidence, any intelligence about those staff members' predatory behaviour over the years, to see whether there is anything that ought to mean that they should be thrown out of their jobs. So it's not just the Metropolitan Police that's been affected by this case, but all those other police forces, like the whole 43 forces in England and Wales. Now, as for the Met, of course, there's an awful lot more being done by the new commissioner, well, not quite so new, Sir Mark Rowley. He's determined to encourage staff to whistle-blow on colleagues who are behaving badly or using bad language, racist language and so forth. It's a big hurdle, trying to persuade staff to blow the whistle on their colleagues, sometimes on whom they rely on a day-to-day basis for protection. But Sir Mark is determined to do that. He's also instigated, with government backing, a review of the whole disciplinary process, because the Commissioner says he sometimes finds it difficult to get rid of the officers that he'd like to kick out for a variety of reasons. It's not always easy, sometimes very difficult, impossible even, he says, to get rid of bad officers. Now, he's got government support to do that. The government, which would need to change the law over the disciplinary process for police officers, but the government has signalled that it is prepared to look at that. So in that sense, over the disciplinary code and regulations, the Commissioner is pushing at an open door. But all of these things are going to take a long time. Very broadly, Sir Mark and other chief constables want to change that macho culture within policing, which is very evident to a lot of people. But, it's like turning around a big ship. It's not going to happen overnight.
And Martin, we're going to be taking this sentencing live. Of course, it was unusual to see such events, sentencing happening in the past, wasn't it?
Yes, we've had half a dozen or so, haven't we? Only began last year after a change in the law. It had been delayed through the COVID process, but the judge, Mrs. Justice, the wonderfully named Mrs. Justice Gina Grubb, has delivered at least one of these live sentencing things. So she knows what she's doing. as I said, she's going to take an hour and a half. I understand there's going to be a time delay because clearly she will have to go into some pretty unpleasant details. I mean, the details of Carrick's sex attacks on some of his victims are pretty unpalatable, certainly not for a mid-morning audience. So if she does stray into those kind of details, which perhaps will be inevitable, then we might have an interruption to our live broadcast. But it's really the latter half of her remarks that are going to be the more interesting, where she explains how she's arrived at her sentence. She's going to have some pretty tough words to say to Carrick. How uncomfortable he'll find that, I don't know. I mean, he'll have read and heard so much since he pleaded guilty in December to the last of these charges. I mean, so much has been written and said that he'll be under no illusion about what he's going to hear from the judge. And then the sentence by about 12 o'clock will be almost certainly a life imprisonment sentence, not a whole life for the reasons I've explained, but it will be a long minimum sentence, probably beyond 30 years, and he'll be told that he can apply for parole at the end of that minimum sentence, but granting his release will not be straightforward if it ever comes to that. His own lawyer has said that the sentence is likely to be so long for a man who's 48 now that it will perhaps effectively mean him being locked up for the rest of his life.
And Martin, we're expecting that the police and the CPS to make statements after the sentencing. Do we think that any of his victims may want to come forward and talk publicly also?
Well, there's one of his victims, a Brazilian woman, who has already waived her anonymity and done a number of interviews. I don't know whether any of them will want to come and talk to us. I mean, I've interviewed one of his victims who stayed anonymous. All but the Brazilian woman have kept their anonymity, so I think it's going to be difficult for them to come out and talk to us. I think they'll probably feel that they had their big opportunity yesterday in their impact statements, which were read out by Tom Little, the prosecutor. That may be enough for them. There were, I think, 6 or 7 of them in court yesterday to listen to the proceedings, and we understand they'll probably be back today. Some of them want to see Carrick and hear his sentence and see his reaction to it. Some of them don't, and I guess we can understand why they wouldn't want to do that. I mean, some of these victims will not have seen Carrick since their ordeals. So there'll be a mixture. Some will be here, some won't. But yes, we'll hear from the police. There'll be more apologies from the Met Police. And the CPS again will make a statement. I've already recorded interviews with the senior investigating officer and the lawyer for the Crown Prosecution Service who oversaw this particular prosecution. They've all been a bit reluctant to talk about past errors, the missed opportunities to stop Carrick in his tracks, to save the later victims from their ordeals. But they have talked about the difficulties in this particular prosecution and how gathering evidence from Carrick and from his victims has not always been the easiest thing.
Martin Brunt, our crime correspondent, for now, thanks very much. Well, we are hoping to take that sentencing live. There has been a short delay in the court we're hearing, so it seems like an opportune time to take a short break, but do return after this break where we will bring you the sentencing live here on Sky News.
The pound has rallied. Moderation.
Look at London. And I said, you know, just have fun and stay blessed.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Though your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio
UK.
This is Starr.
Love for you runs deep. All of you makes my heart beat. You make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great. You hold the world in your hands. The hand of
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Morning Show. Today is the 7th day of February, the year 2023. That means that it's 7 days more for the Valentine's Day, right? Okay, I'm calling it the month of love, but it is a nippy day here in London and in the UK as well. But, well, bad things happening across the globe, and I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment. Well, when it comes to Nigeria, how many days more for the election? And whether that is going to take place or not, today being the 7th, that means that we've got what? 18 days more for the election. Is it going to take place or not? Well, Buhari didn't tackle election violence in 2019. 2023 polls face same problems. And it's been a warning coming from the HRW. Well, so let me say good morning to my one and only colleague, co-presenter Mr. Olayomi Koiki. Yomi, massive good morning to you and welcome to the program, and to my able producer Mr. Francis Guy, producing and making sure that everything takes in along nicely for you to enjoy the show once again.
All of you makes my heart beat. You make a dog fade, and that's what makes you great.
Well, don't worry. It seems my image is frozen. Yes, maybe I'm acting the Frozen movie. Who knows? But whatever it is, we're going to make sure that you can still see me. So at the moment, it seems to be frozen. But hey, let's move on. Thank you very much, Francis, once again. And let me say good morning to Anthony Adedeji, Bishop Adeshina, Pastor Momo, Maxwell, Sir Maxwell, Moyua, and all you wonderful people. Let me say all protocol observed. Play in the background something from Edith Morrison, Great Are You Lord. Now for the sake of those of you who are tuning in for the first time on a Tuesday edition of the Morning Show, this is how the program goes. I'm going to bring you the quote for the day, the weather forecast will follow suit, then the travel update. We'll move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds across the globe, known as Global Trotting. Then at 11 o'clock, or just after 11 o'clock, we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki, who will be hopping in, be telling you more about what is happening in Nigeria. If I want to tell you,
I worship you.
But just wait for him. Then at 12 o'clock, the lines are open for you to add your voice to the discussions. Exactly at 12:30, we'll bring the curtains down for the end of the program. And we'll get ourselves ready for today's edition of the BB Means Business Show by BB Clement. So the quote for the day says, do not see hard work as working long hours only, but making greater use of your mind to achieve more. Okay, so hard work is good. Yeah. At times you have to maybe burning the candles at both ends. But well, make it more flexy such that you are able to break in some more. All right then, so now let's move on straight to the weather front. What is happening on the weather front this morning in the UK or in London and the southeast of England? This is how the weather is going to be for you today. Now this afternoon it will be dry with plenty of wintry sunshine as high pressure dominates the weather. Calm or light winds expected as well. Now tonight will continue calm, dry, and there will be largely clear skies throughout. Now some patches of mist and fog will again form in places. However, these rather dense in places. The temperature is going to be 8 degrees. The low is going to be -2, a bit colder than it's been last night. The UV level is going to be low and pollution is going to be low. Sunset 17 hours and sunrise for tomorrow morning 07:30 hours. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast, and let's move on straight to your travel updates. Stay tuned and don't you go away.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, and we'll keep enough gauge that I promise our bond, the Starr Radio Travel Update that comes away every weekday from 10:40. I can tell you shortly, those of you using the underground this morning, good service throughout London, Tramlink, DLR, and London Overground, good service there. I'm moving on straight to the major roads in London. I can tell you A10, A4, A41, Blackwall Tunnel, Central London Red routes are all having closures. However, not circular A406 has got serious delays, so if you can avoid it, do your best to do so. But that aside, all the others, no exceptional delays. Now, once again, on the river bus, apart from the Woolwich ferry that's got suspended, all the others are running good service there. The London cable car as well is running a good service. But it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Keep your eyes on the roads. Now let's come to the final segment of the travel update. That's the major, there's the National Rail, my apologies. On the National Rail this morning, cross country, Great Northern Railway, Island Line, Northern Rail, Southwestern Railway, Thames Link, have all got minor delays. Set aside all the others, no exceptional delays, good service there. So on that note, as I would say once again, say it loud. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today. But you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the roads.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. Now let's go to some of the stories making the rounds across the globe. But let me start with this. On your screens at the moment, there is this lady, an 82 years old Ghanaian lady who is lost and cannot remember where she lives. Information is saying that share it. The lovely Ghanaian woman is lost and confused. She doesn't know where she lives. Please contact the police if you know her or are related to her. She was wandering around South London area. I bet you should be suffering from dementia. Maybe she's a bit demented there. With pictures down there shows her with some of the police officers who are trying to get her to maybe remember a few things or where she's coming from. So please, if you know her, get in touch with the police. The information detail is on there and I'll be putting it across in a moment. But wherever you are, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. We're here to serve the community. As we say, this is a radio for the people, by the people. All right then. Now, when it comes to some of the stories making the round, earthquake, Nigerian students in Turkey underground post-trauma analysis. We'll be telling you more about that. The National Association of Nigerian Students in Turkey has said that Nigerian students who were traumatized as a result of the Monday 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit the country have been taken taken in by Turkish officials for post-trauma analysis. And in Ghana as well, there was one of the former Black Star players who have been pulled out of the rebels, Archie. So we'll be telling you more about all those things that is happening. And if you are there listening to us as well, you have any on the ground information, feel free to do so. Now, Buhari, MFLA to tear Nigeria apart with recalled Naira scarcity. Kachuku is saying that Buhari and MFLA are tearing Nigeria apart. And then Atiku tells Buhari not to make Nigerians scapegoats of poorly implemented Naira policy. And Buhari didn't tackle election violence in 2019. 2023 polls face same problem. It's a warning coming from the HRW. And then more pains ahead. Old notes don't extend February 10 deadline. Court tells federal government and CBN. Now forgive us and vote for APC. Tinubu will correct our mistakes. Really? That's what the president is begging Nigerians to do. I say it all the time. Make sure that you get the money that they want to give to you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Tell them I'm gonna vote for you. But you take that money. Remember that if you go vote for them, that's it. They're not going to be coming back to come and serve you. But use your brains, use your mind, and vote. Okay? Yes. All right then. So now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Yes. In the world front, Turkey quick. They call out for help and cry in pain. It's one of the stories making the rounds there. It's one of the stories making the rounds there as well. And footballer Archie rescued from Turkey quick rubble. I don't know whether the family has been rescued as well. We will tell you more about that. But it's been captured in international news as well. It was like doomsday. Syrian tells earthquake shock. We don't want to believe he died. Some of the events happening there. And rapist ex-policeman David Carrick to be sentenced. The former officer faces a life sentence after pleading guilty to 85 offenses, including multiple rapes. Now, who do you believe? The police? The soldier? The politician? The lawyer? The priest? The who? Oh, well, Starr Radio UK, we are here to bring you everything that you need to know. So you got to stay tuned and to listen to us. BP scales back climate targets as profit hits record. It is the latest energy giant to report record annual profits after oil and gas prices soared last year. Now they're talking about the inflation and everything, and I've been talking about the fact that look, if you think that inflation is causing all these things, then the profit that bring the prices of fuel down, and once that comes down, automatically inflation will come down, wouldn't it? What do you think if you are an expert? Well, but they are allowing them to rake in all these profits. Why? Who are the owners? Who have the shares in those companies? That's another question. Ask yourself. All right then. Now let's move on to some other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world as well. And this time around, some on the African front. Now, more than 10 killed in clashes in contested Somaliland town. The Somaliland government armed militia has killed more than 10 people in clashes with forces from the self-declared Republic of Somaliland. It's one of the stories. And Mauritania globe-trotting artist brightens up downtrodden neighborhoods. Now, good luck to him. And Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov visits Mali in sign of deepening ties. Well, yesterday we talked about the fact that the Malians have actually sacked the UN military boss there. Well, look at them, pals with the Russians. Now, are the tables turning so that the West is not recognized that much that people now think that they have to go to somehow, let me put it, the East? What do you think? Okay, and DDEP will continue to converge there until we are exempted. Dr. Anani Entry says. Now, yesterday we had the old folks, I call them, gathering in front of the Ministry of Finance. Now, they had permission and everything to gather there in protest against the move or the plans by government to some way, somehow put his hands on their pensions funds, which they're saying that, well, the government has to do something. But what do you think is a way forward for the Ghanaian government? Because now, if they have not cut down on their expenditure, I mean, they're not showing that, look, we are in dire times, and therefore we are all in it together. We've all tightened our belt. But you tell others, tighten your belt, and you losing your belt, or you go and get an extension, then how fair are you being? Lots more going to be coming your way from here. It is Starr Radio UK. But let's enjoy this music, and let's continue with the show. This around from Denzel Prempe, and he says Noko Noko. Enjoy it, and I'll be with you.
I don't know how to explain it, but it is like.
But remember, this afternoon exactly at 1:30, we'll be having BB Clement coming your way with BB Means Business, and in the next few moments, we'll be having Mr. Olayomi Koiki joining in because there's lots more to talk about. Stay tuned and enjoy that music.
I see you.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I bring it a time now to exactement 7 minutes past the top of the hour. I'm going to be having a special correspondent on the grounds in Turkey. So once we come on, Mr. Olayomi will be having a chat with him and be telling us more about what exactly is happening there. And as I did say, I mean, people are traumatized. Students in Nigeria are traumatized. But hey, somehow, the Turkish authority are trying to see to them. And I talk about the Ghanaian footballer, formerly playing for the Black Stars and the national team, and he was also pulled out of the rebels. He's head, but we know that he's alive. But as whether his family are okay or not, we'll be telling you more about that. But it is Starr Radio UK, 8 minutes past the top of the hour, the time, the morning show, the program, and I've got with me the one and only, the white lion himself, Mr. Olayomi Koiki. Yomi, good morning.
Well, a very good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers from around the world. And let's say once again, it is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And we welcome you once again to the Tuesday edition. It is the 7th of February, 2023. 8 minutes past, like you said, and it's good to be back again.
Yes. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I love when you say how we're doing, because we are still here. I mean, in as much as it was very, I'm not sure whether you were out early in the morning, but I was. It was very, very, frosty out there. The weather was a bit very cold, but I'm back in the studio here in the North London studio, and that literally means that we can only say we are grateful to be alive. Looking at the current spark of things, that is happening around the world, and not just in Turkey, but also a lot is happening in Nigeria that we're going to be discussing about. But like you said, we are going to be corresponding with one of our reporters in just about a few minutes straight to Turkey to give us some of the update. But I can confirm from the information coming out, no Nigerian that we can say died in the Turkey earthquake, which we can say that we're grateful. But those that have died, we can only pray for their family and the loved ones as well.
Yes, listeners, sad time. This week has not been a good week studying and looking at everything that is happening. But when it comes to Nigeria, there's lots happening there as well. We're telling you more about that. But we'll go back to Yomi to see whether we can get a connection to our correspondent in Turkey this morning. So over to you, Yomi.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Archie, and thank you once again, to all our listeners. Are we good to go?
Yes, we are good to go. Over to you.
Yes, let's connect now to our reporter that have joined us direct from Turkey that will be able to give us, the current state of things out there. Hello, Gary, good morning to you and welcome to Starr Radio UK.
Good morning. Good morning, Olayomi Koiki. Good morning, Mr. Archie. Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Thank you so much. We have been following the current situation in Turkey in the last 24 hours. Can you give us, I know from the report no Nigerian have died, but what is the current state of situation right now, with exactly your location? What can you tell us, from Turkey regarding the earthquake that came through at about almost 7.4 yesterday?
From the city that I am presently, I am not the same city where the incident happened. But from the city that I am now, from yesterday afternoon till midnight till this morning, there's been a lot of relief materials that people are donating, and then from the university of this city where I am, which happens to have a medical university for the medical students. So the rector already sent in teams of doctors that were enlisted yesterday with a military aircraft. And today at the location that I am presently, this is a location where the relief material is being donated. I have video recordings already that I'm going to send into the Starr Radio TV, send to the Starr Radio. But presently there's been donation from different people. But presently I am at the location where the donations and the relief material is being shipped already, putting in the lorry that will be enlisted. None of this material is going to go by road because it is needed as soon as possible. So that is the situation on ground now.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, we know that lives were lost, and from what you're saying, it seems that more doctors are being sent to that location. What is the reason, that doctors are being airlifted? Is it because of the damage of people that have been killed or people that probably need medical support? Or will there be more pressure in that particular district where the earthquake has taken place? Why are doctors being lifted, from one district to the other district?
Yes, because, as you can, as I said earlier, this happened to be a teaching hospital, and we have a lot of experts. We have a lot of specialists here. This is more like a specialist hospital, a teaching hospital here in this city. So the university rector decided to send groups over 70 doctors, both specialists, probably because of the big thing. They need quick response. They need doctors to treat them. There can never be enough, you understand? So because of the magnitude of the earthquake, so they need a lot of people to save lives. People who are injured need to be treated immediately. That is why they are sending groups of doctors. That is why they've been sent yesterday and they've been enlisted with the military aircraft.
Okay. Also, you're talking about donation, and we know that when incident of this magnitude happened, we're talking about almost 7.4. As the report is coming, we know that non-Nigerians were killed in this earthquake. But the relief material, how fast are these relief material coming into this, the center that you are presently? We know that we're going to be getting some videos later on that we're going to be playing before the end of the program. But this is going to be my last question, and I'm going to take it back to Archie, that might also have one or two questions. The relief materials, what kind of relief materials is coming into the center? Because we know that, Turkey is as cold as other European countries as well. So what kind of relief material are you seeing brought into the center as we speak right now?
We have a lot of blankets. That's what you call the duvet. We have diaper for children. We have shoes. That's what they call ayakabi here. So we have lots of relief material, simply because it's a winter season and a lot of people are homeless presently. So wherever we're putting people, they need blankets, they need winter jackets, they need boots, and the children will be needing diapers. So there's a lot of diapers here. So those are the fast and quick relief material you could donate presently.
All right. Let me go back straight now to Mr. Archie to ask maybe one or two questions. Once again, you are now listening to one of our correspondents on Starr Radio UK in Turkey, giving us live report of what is happening, back in Turkey. And I hand over now again to Mr. Archie for him to go through with his own questions.
Interestingly, our lady didn't give us her name, and therefore some of our listeners are asking, who is that beautiful lady giving us the name? So at least your first name, please.
Sorry. Hello. Did you hear Mr. Archie?
Okay, I think that she's not hearing me. So okay, let me just ask her that, and ask her if I
guess she can hear you. Let's see. Can you hear Mr. Archie back in Turkey?
No, I can't. I can barely hear him.
Okay, all right. I think she can barely. What they're asking is, we didn't get your name. Even if it's just the first name.
This is Olayomi reporting for Koiki Media and Starr Radio UK.
Okay, thank you so much. So right there, that's the name there. So go ahead, Mr. Archie.
A quick message.
Yeah.
On behalf of Koiki Media, Olayomi Koiki, and Starr Radio UK, in person of Mr. Archie, we say get me also to clear him.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead, Mr. Archie.
Yes, yes, Olayomi, a quick one from there. Now, how has our what I call it, people who belong, I'm talking about blacks or our communities, how have they been trooping in to help in this particular situation? Because most of the time we see things like that happening and we don't get ourselves involved in. How have they been involved in the Ghanaian community, the Nigerian community, or the African communities? How have they been involved in in helping these ones?
So how are the African community, this is a question from Mr. Archie, the African community, are they coming out to help in terms of, I know you are right there, but are we seeing other Africans that are right there, whether Ghanaians, Nigerians, or other African countries? Are they out there as well helping, with this current situation?
I would say, well, depending on the city. This is the location where I am presently. I happen to be the only black that can say myself. I happen to be the only one, and I personally volunteered to assist. I brought some relief material too. When you have a lot of stuff in the house, and when accident or emergency happens, you don't know what you have until you lose it. A lot of people lost life and property. So what is the point of having things in the house when people need it? So I have to empty some things. I know it's a luxury for me that people need it more than myself. I brought it here today. I volunteered myself. I helped them to pack some shoes and then some children clothes. Presently I happen to be the only black here.
Wow. Okay. All right, go ahead.
I can't speak for other states, but presently the state I am, I happen to be the only black person here.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Archie, go ahead.
Yeah, Olayinka, thank you very much. But if you are listening to us and you want to contribute something, we'll just get in touch. Olayomi is organizer. We'll try to put a platform there, some information, and we'll try to link you with Olayinka so that every little helps. Every little helps. And when it comes to Africa, we are always like, oh, me. But it gets to a point that we also have to show that we also care about people, and that is very, very important. Yomi, Oluwa Kayode Daniel says, well done, Mr. Koiki, and God will always be with you. And
thank you so
family.
much, our correspondent, and then we'll let you go all the way in Turkey. Thank you so much, and thank you once again.
Thank you. Yeah, we say from here, we say Guru Shuru.
Good. Well, we hope we're able to pronounce it very well. Thank you so much. Well, let's come back now to you, Mr. Archie, and you can see, this is a it's a world event. I've been monitoring most of the aircraft that are traveling, and I can also confirm that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is also putting his weight to say they are ready to do whatever they can to support the Turkey. Even though Nigerians are already saying we have a lot of problem on the ground there, I think maybe we should just leave that now. Let's deal with our own immediate problem.
Yeah.
And this is Starr Radio UK. And when we get those videos, we will bring them on quickly. But for now, let me come back again to you in the studio, and we can deal with some of the other headlines coming out of Nigeria this morning.
Yes, listeners, updates from Nigeria, and this time around looking at all our communities across the globe, and this time we were in Turkey, where we had Olayinka bringing us some updates from the ground and what is going on there. Now, Prince Abimbola Oshode says, good morning, Starr Radio crew. Friend from Niger just informed me that it is likely for banks to close down in Niger due to the scarcity of new notes and violence in Niger. Niger is gone. So that's information that is also got. And of course, looking at how desperate the situation is, or people are, we know that it's just a matter of time that if the banks don't shut up, because if they've not got the money, how can they even give it up? So Yomi, let's come straight to that particular issue, the scarcity of the naira. Now, some are saying that, well, yes, the president and MFLA should be blamed for whatever is happening there.
Well, and as I'm going to be giving that report, in terms of, we had one of our correspondents in Ekiti State, in Akure, that has been giving us, elderly people we should be more concerned about. The reason why there's a lot of stress now, and I want to show you, while we get that, the engineers are working on that quickly. The bank staff are already running out of the bank, and the reason why they're running away, this is a video, I believe, from Delta State. So what you are watching right there is the bank staff taking an exit through the back with a ladder because of the crowd outside in the front that they cannot attend to anymore. Imagine going into Barclays Bank, and then the Barclays Bank staff had to exit out because there's a tension outside. This is a current spark of things as we speak right now in Nigeria. So they have a ladder, and they are using the back end to get away as quickly as possible. Our correspondent this morning in Akure was able to tell us exactly what they're going through, and what they're going through is people have been to the bank since Sunday morning, sleeping over, but there's no money loaded into the ATM. And those that were able to get into the banking hall were also not able to withdraw what they actually need. I mean, you're talking about 20,000 minimum, but right now you may be lucky to get 5,000 naira. The POS are still able to pay out depending on which POS has the contact or the network to a bank manager. We have seen a lot of videos also popping out where money has been eaten away by the bank manager for not releasing the money to the public. So the pressure that Nigerians are facing, so I'm not surprised that some banks will be closing down. In Borno, the governor has actually requested that none of the bank license will be renewed if they are keeping the money and not allowing the money to come out. Ogun State governor in the southwest was having a meeting, with their CBN representative yesterday, and let's see if we can maybe bring in what the governor was engaging with the CBN yesterday. Let's see if we can get the audio from that. 1 minute, just as we get the audio in. Let's say this is the Ogun State governor that Abiodun yesterday.
In terms of reach the internet, reach the grassroots people, that's based on the agencies, the agents, all these POS and other agents and super agents. Last week, he had allocated 40% of whatever we give to commercial bank to go to agents, 40%. For example, if they get 100 million, 40% of that will have to go to agents. 30% to be paid over the counter, OTC.
So what we are witnessing right now is a pressure that is about to explode, and it doesn't seem that the CBN might extend in the next 3 days, where if you have not even gone to drop the old currency that the ATM is still disbursing, I'm not sure how this works. I mean, the bank is saying bring in your old currency, but when you go back to the ATM, you are still getting the old currency, but you have 3 more days. So there's a lot of pressure. And the question now also is this going to change an election that is about to happen, or are we not going to see this election happening at all? Because 14 political parties are now saying that they are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that maybe the election is not even going to hold at all. There is a pressure on the ground, and it seems the federal government does not have a solution to it. Governors' parties begin legal battle over the CBN deadline is the headline coming as well. On February 10, deadline for the currency swap announced by the Central Bank of Nigeria has pit Governors Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna, Yahya Bello of Kogi, Bello Matawa of Zamfara against 14 political parties which now threatening to boycott the February 25th election should the CBN extend the time limit. Starr Radio UK, your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. As they normally say in broken English, it seems now that the Gari has actually overthrown the water.
The Gari has actually overthrown the water. So the Gari has taken over. All right. The Prince of Bimbola say yes, the video is viral. It has gone so bad, so bad, so bad, so bad. But what do you think about all that is happening there? Very, very sad situation. Well, just a moment, please. Just a moment, listeners. Let me just get that out now. President Buhari is begging Nigerians, say, forgive us and vote for APC. Now, wait, what is happening? I mean, virtually getting to an election time and putting people in desperate situation and looking at the insecurity issues going on and the fact that Nigeria has fallen from wherever it was to a point where it has become the poverty capital of the world. Then you ask yourself, why should Nigerians forgive them, and why is it calling if they actually have done their best there? Yomi.
Well, with the current spark of things in the country, we're not just talking about the currency, problem at the moment. We're talking about so many problems. I mean, the insecurity is one of the biggest threats, to mankind. And if you don't have the right security, you will definitely have to go through a lot. Buhari begs Nigerians for 7 days to resolve the cash crunch issues. This was about 3 days ago, but this time around, is now also begging to say that, give us the next opportunity. Maybe I didn't perform very well, but Tinubu will perform very well Tinubu has literally been stressing the president, let's put it that way, because the president seems to be hiding away. So the president seems to now be forced to campaign for, somebody that brought Buhari in. But it seems that Tinubu is having a login. Forgive us and vote for APC. Tinubu will correct our mistakes. President Buhari begs Nigerians. He blamed Nigerian economy downtown, just as we know, to COVID-19, pandemic and other challenges, but insisted that his administration had made some modest achievement. President Buhari, has pleaded with Nigerians to forgive and endure his administration flaw. He was actually saying this at the campaign that took place in Katsina. Buhari made the state remarks on Monday while speaking to a large crowd at Katsina State at Diko Stadium for the APC presidential campaign rally.
Wow. Well, Nigerians, if you are listening to us, are you going to forgive them and give Tinubu the chance to come and right all the wrongs that they have done? 7 days. Now, how many days more have you got for you to go and exchange your old naira for the new ones? Have you even got it? Those who are the bankers are even running through or entering and exiting via ladder through back door. So what exactly is happening there? Well, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, when it comes to the elections, today is the 7th, and therefore we have 18 days exactly for the elections to take place. Now, Buhari didn't tackle election violence in 2019. I remember 2019, we were on the ground, and you were talking about people who were, stealing or taking ballot boxes around. There were lots of clashes going on at the polling stations. Now, they're saying that the 2023 polls faces the same problem because they didn't come out with any policy to say that, look, we're putting these measures in place to forestall such things from happening. So virtually that's what is going to happen. And that's why we're asking the question that, do you think that even if the election takes place, we'll have an authentic result, or it will not be something that is manipulated and that will not even end the country into a serious bloodshed?
Well, election comes up every 4 years, and the next 4 years is now a countdown that Buhari says it will be his best legacy because he's not coming back. We have almost 18 days, 30 minutes, and the second keeps going down. So that's for the presidential election if it goes according to the plan. For the governorship election, which is slotted for March 11, the presidential election is slotted for February 25th in the midst of all the chaos that is going on. So the countdown then is, how can we gauge the previous election to the one that is about to happen? And this is where the conversation is coming in. The inability of the President Muhammadu Buhari's regime to address the past election-related violence and abuses has threatened the safe conduct of the 2023 general election, and this is coming from the Human Rights Watch. Already, we know that in Biafra land is divided. In the southwest is also divided. In the middle belt is divided. But in the northern part of Nigeria, nobody's talking about the breakup of Nigeria. So that means that election, we might go freely without no injury. But we do know that as of Sunday, more than over 100 people were killed in Katsina. Almost 550 local government have been touched by the insecurity. So the guarantee is something that the Human Rights Watch are talking about. The elections are set to take place against a backdrop of, guess what? Impunity for abuses by the same security forces and other actors during the previous general election. Starr Radio UK was on the ground in 2019, and what we witnessed, is something that is still being looked into, because, like I always say, in Lagos State, the PDP were not allowed to cast their vote. They were violent, there were killings, there were ballot boxes that were burnt down in Festac Town, in Surulere, especially in geographical location where the Igbo people had their businesses. In Alimosho, they were actually told that should you vote for the PDP, your businesses will be closed down. This time around, things have turned around. We now have 3 candidates, and the push for so many Nigerians is they are going to chase away the APC, even though Buhari is begging them. Tinubu is saying that he's going to do it, but it seems that Atiku is not comfortable with the whole situation, and Atiku also is saying that Buhari not to make Nigerians scapegoat of. Atiku tells Buhari not to make Nigerians scapegoat of poorly implemented Naira policy. Also, it seems that Emefiele might be tearing apart Nigeria. Nigeria has been torn apart because of the nepotism, the subjugation, and a lot of situation that is going on. But according to remember that we have a lot of presidential aspirants, but we do talk about just about 3 of them. We have Sowore there, we have Kwankwaso. But according to Dumabi Kwachuku, the African Democratic Congress ADC presidential candidate, says the scarcity of the new Naira banknote poses great threat to Nigerian peace. He also lamented that difficulty in withdrawing old note is frustrating the lives and the livelihood. He worries that large part of the North don't have a bank branch and e-banking support. And do you know what has been going on in the North? Money has been moved to the rural area to remove the old one, and sometimes you could get a top-up of about 500 or 300 Naira if you are collecting 10,000 Naira, as against the Southwest, the Southeast, where you have to go into the bank, deposit the money, and your new Naira note is not coming back to you. Again, these are part of the nepotism that has been going on in Nigeria since this government came to power, and likewise in the last 62 years of injustice to so many Nigerians and the indigenous people.
Wow, listen to Starr Radio UK. Very, very sad situation there. But Yomi, let me ask you, this is a conspiracy theory. Do you think that it's a ploy to impoverish those in the South? Because if you cannot put your old Naira in and it expires, that you've lost that money. And if your money is in there and you need more, you need to take more money out so that you can go and transact business, and it's been capped as well. It's only 20 grand that you can take. Then that means that you cannot transact your business the way that it's supposed to be. So virtually making you impoverished. So is that what the plot is?
Well, it's a plan to destabilize, the political gladiator in the Southwest. We know that, somebody like Tinubu has so much money that has been, evidence-based, taken away from the coffer of the system. So, and if he's going to win an election, he would definitely also need to pump in the money into the system, to make sure that he can, as much as Atiku does the same thing. But one thing is, an average person in the Southwest is feeling the brunt, removing the little that they have. Remember that Nigeria remains the capital poverty of the world. So not that Nigerians have the money in the first place, but the little that they kept in the banking, where they can remove those money, they are not getting it. In the North, we do know from this, information coming out that they are not having enough banks, but they do have money taken to them directly. So it's both ways. They're literally trying to punish, their political gladiator that have kept them in the poverty in the first place, but also a layman this morning is struggling. And the diaspora that are sending money home to their loved ones. I was with my auntie yesterday in my local area when I was outside, and she said to me, her mother has been in Nigeria for the last 2 weeks and she has not been able to see the new Naira note.
Wow. Well, we pray that peace prevails. Whatever it is, we don't want to lose lives, but with this going on, people will then say that, look, we have been calling it that there is marginalization. People are trying to suppress people, from the South, and that seems to be exactly what is happening. But what do you think? Let us hear from you. It is Starr Radio UK, 11:35 the time. We'll go back to Yomi for the rest of the stories making the rounds this morning. Over to you, Yomi.
Thank you so much. As non-Nigerians, from the information that we got, been affected in Turkey. But the question a lot of Nigerians are saying is it not even better that we have an earthquake in Nigeria and we can have a lot of materials and relief and food coming into the country, because the pressure in Nigeria and the heat, the temperature is becoming quite frustrating to so many Nigerians. As people are saying, election is getting closer. The question is, will the election itself hold with the current spark of things going on in Nigeria this morning? So let's touch on the last part of the headline, and then we go straight to the social media this morning. Election for the Southern Presidency must not fail. This is coming from one of the Southwest Governor Ondo State and the chairman of the Southwest Governor Forum, Akeredolu. And some of them, it's easier said than done. He has been spending most of the time in Germany for his own medical treatment, but yet he cannot put in, the system in place. Maybe a Southwest president will give them enough income that they can use, to bring in, the resources that is needed. Again, we'll have to wait and see. Now let's go back into some of the other headlines as well. Something also happened where the PAPC speaker, the speaker of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, remember that he wanted to become the president, and that literally means that he lost the seat of his ticket. But right now, the judgment has come over to say, and yes, we have images that is going to be coming very soon. I will be sending that to you. Hopefully, we can play one. But like I said, these are the images coming right now from Turkey, where there is quite a lot of relief materials as we speak. So I'm going to be putting that across to you in just about a few minutes. Okay. So Ahmed Lawan, from what we know, has literally now won the Yobe seat. And question Nigerians are asking is, what kind of magic was that? I mean, but again, that is Nigeria. There's a lot of magic that happen in Nigeria on a daily basis. So that is going on as well from the rulings coming yesterday. Enemies of Nigeria behind the redesign, according to the ADC presidential candidate. As election is getting closer, also there's pressure from all part of indigenous people that are also asking whether they would like to be part of Nigeria as well. Autumn shuns Atiku campaign. IU slams the governor. Remember that Autumn is part of the 5G governors that disagree with Atiku and want Atiku to remove the chairman, and Atiku has literally said no, he's not going to do so. So as the campaign of the PDP goes to Benue State, as it has done to other states where they disagree, Autumn is not going to be participating in that campaign as well. Again, EFCC, CBN officials in the Zenith UBA Access Keystone First Bank over the Naira scarcity. EFCC have started visiting some of the branches and like to find out why money that should have been disbursed to the, as you can hear from the Ogun State, commercial banks, commercial is getting 40%, and over the counter is about 30% of an 100 million naira coming to Ogun State. But yet, Ogun State indigents are struggling to have access to the money as well. So let's go straight now to the social media. As Ilorin is trending this morning. We're not too sure why, but I can tell you that more protest is being erupt. I got a call just before coming on air that a protest is already going ahead, but we're waiting for that. Fashola, the former governor of Lagos State, the current minister for power, thought, he never said that Nigerians will enjoy 24 hours power electricity. He was actually defending that in an interview he granted yesterday. Remember that when the APC came, they asked that dollar will be changed to 1 naira to $1. Next level is now denying, and he says that there was no way he said that Nigerians will enjoy 24 hours power supply. Again, prepare for battle. I will bury you. Femi Kayode attacks Emefiele and Najatu. He has been sick for 2 weeks, according to him on his Twitter handle, and he says he's back now, and it seems that he wants to bury Najatu. Najatu was the one that, remember yesterday, that actually said that the Kaaba, she's not scared to mention the Kaaba. The Kaaba is Aisha Buhari on my right-hand screen, and Najatu Mohammed is there on our left-hand screen as well. So quite a lot is going on in Nigeria, but let's now look at what actually is the main problem. The main problem right now is not just the currency in Nigeria. The main problem is that Nigerians are now so tired of whatever is happening in Nigeria. So when we look at Nigeria on the social media this morning, remember to follow us on Twitter before I return back again to you in the studio. We can say Simon Ekpa, the spokesperson for the Biafra, is referring back to Dr. Jeffrey Gottman. This is the height of deceit. Jeffrey Gottman, with the highest level of ignorance of Nigerian state, he appeared in one of my Twitter space where I questioned him and also lecture him about Nigeria. It is now clear most of them are looking for ways into the national treasury. And it seems that, Dr. Jeffrey does not understand the current spark of things in Nigeria. Just as I was engaging, a journalist as well on Sunday during the Tottenham football match, he knew about Biafra, but he doesn't know the depth of what the other indigenous people are facing in the country Nigeria as of today. Again, we're just looking at some of what is trending. Chidi Odikalu, what Nigerian judges cannot do does not exist. A judge has issued an order of expert restraining official PDP Nigeria from suspending Governor Wike. Aye is about to announce whom he support for hashtag Nigeria Decide. Governor Wike of Rivers State is a big threat to the PDP, but the PDP says no. They are about to suspend him, but it seems that one day judges have shown how courts are bought and sold in Nigeria. Nothing is new in Nigeria anymore. And you can see Dr. Jeffrey says this is the time for choosing. If you want a better Nigeria, then Peter Obi is the only choice. Is he also preparing himself so that when Peter Obi becomes the president, somebody like Dr. Jeffrey Gutman might probably be used for what kind of whatever to in that government of the but African Confidential says the next time a one Nigeria advocate asks you to hold your elected officials accountable because Nigerian problem is a bad leadership, ask the brainless fool to name you just one system Nigeria's place that allows you to hold these officials accountable. As Kwara State did not come out at all for Peter Obi, we're not sure why, but it seems that as more Nigerians are waking up this morning, Olukayode Ariwola, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, remember we talked about him when he was appointed, is very dangerous man, very corrupt and biased. His actions, if not checked, would truncate Nigerian democracy. He has a mission. Nigerians need to wake up. And this is coming from Jackson Ude at Jackson Son PBN. And that is how far we can take on the social media because of the time constraint. And I will come back again to you now in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Wow, listeners, a very comprehensive one from there. But 18 days on, and the question is the INEC ready for the election to hold or not? Or is this the point where we're going to see Nigeria disintegrating, things falling apart because the INEC, which is the center, cannot hold? What do you think? Aziz Benasarik says, good morning, brother Koiki, and good morning to the Starr Radio UK team. We say good morning to you, Aziz, and thank you very, very much. And listeners, we're going to be showing you some pictures and some videos of what is happening in Turkey at the moment, and as we did say when we had our own Olayinka giving us a live feed from Turkey, well, she's talked about a few things there. Every little helps, as the Tesco slogan goes. So we will be encouraging each and every one of us, especially those from our communities, because when it happens to things like that, we don't get ourselves involved in. We just seem to say we are impoverished, we are the ones who cannot do it. Always we say somebody come to help me. It is about time for you to also help somebody. What do you think about that? It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. But Yomi, let's talk about the polls quickly. What is the latest polls and who is leading? Is Obi still in the lead?
Well, the poll still indicates Peter Obi, but again, these might change. But the pressure that is currently going on means that the government is not going to get anywhere close to anything because of the current situation of things. So Peter Obi is still leading in the poll as we speak today.
And I know that Atiko is doing his best to also take advantage of what is happening. But the smaller parties, Sowere's party and the others, now what have they thought of? Are they trying to maybe come together, form something like one team, and then maybe support one of them?
Well, the problem is none of them wants to allow the other to take the lead. So and the smaller party will just continue to struggle. But the reason why Peter Obi has been able to hit much closer is because Nigerians are probably more tired of the two gladiators that have been running the show. PDP was there for 16 years until APC merge came in and then took out PDP. But now it seems that, as things are going, there's a scare in the market that PDP and APC might be going to what they call Aonotibule. But it seems that there's just a lot happening presently.
And when it comes to the PVCs, how many people are still complaining that they've still not gotten their hands on?
There are still more people that have not been able to access those PVC. We do know that there's millions of Nigerians that have not got those PVC. There's nothing to indicate that the schools are being closed, the university, to enable Nigerians to get their PVC. So all these are still ongoing, but more Nigerians cannot get those PVC. And those that have got those PVC are probably just waiting to see whether election will come true on the 25th. Should things remain as it is right now, this is my view, election might not definitely come true.
Now, will students, just call it a bluff and come home and maybe go and collect their PVCs and go vote? Do you think that is the university students, the tertiary students?
Well, some would definitely do so. Especially remember that this election doesn't happen during the week. It happens especially weekend, sometimes during the weekend. So that means that you will definitely have to return back home. But are you going to factor the cost of the petrol, the cost of the transportation? If you are having enough to travel from Lagos before, you definitely have to add extra to it. So it might, with the current fact of things, remember that we're not talking about the petrol anymore, but it hasn't gone, it's still there. And now we're talking about the Naira, and we have 3 more days. The bank is, the court is saying that you cannot extend it anymore. And when that cap comes in 3 days, which is the next couple of days from today, the 3 days left now, which is on the 10th. The 10th is a Friday. That means that we might go straight and see more pressure cooker over the weekend, because those that still have the old currency are still in large quantity.
But are we not getting some of the citizens to maybe go on a demonstration, as we saw in Ibadan, where there were people, virtually on demonstration saying that, look, petrol crisis, scarcity of the Naira. Now, if people are still going, because the moment your money is not able to go to the bank, you've lost that money. And it's 3 days, yes, and the court is ruling.
Doesn't matter how small the money is, even if it's the 1,000 naira left to you, if you can't change that 1,000 naira, it becomes a souvenir.
Wow. Well, tomorrow we're going to be bringing you another edition of the Updates from Nigeria, and tomorrow evening, God willing, we'll be bringing you Niger Voice as well. You can bring everything and talk about anything that you want to talk about there on that platform. But Yomi, let me say thank you very much for that wonderful update once again.
Thank you so much, and bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye. Now, listeners, I'm going to bring you some of the feed, or some of the videos and some of the pictures that Olayinka has sent to us. So just stay tuned. We'll bring that your way quickly, and then I bring you some lovely tune that I've selected, and this time around one from Lamar, and it says, "Lean on me." In times like this, we need to get someone to lean on. Can somebody rely on you? What do you think? So stay tuned, don't you go away. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Merhaba. Türkiye'de olan depremden dolayı dünya olarak Türkiye yardımlarını bekliyoruz. Allah kabul etsin. İnsanlarımızın zor durumda olduğunu biliyorsunuz. Allah kabul etsin yardımlarınızdan dolayı. Teşekkür ederiz. Rica ederim. This is relief materials being donated by individuals, companies for the victim of the earthquake that happened in Turkey. As you can see, this is a different city entirely, and people are donating relief material. The blankets, duvet, winter jackets, shoes, and every other relief material you can think of. Moral support. The University of the city I am, yesterday the rector of the university sent some team of doctors who are already on ground. They were airlifted yesterday, and today, the 7th of February 2023, people are bringing relief material. Bringing relief material that will be used to support the victim of the earthquake. This is Koiki Media representative in Turkey, bringing the world closer to your doorstep.
We all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things that you need to borrow, no one can solve those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong.
This is Starr Radio UK.
I'll help you carry on, and I will help you carry on. It won't be long. I know that it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah, you just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Everybody sing. Oh, oh, oh, oh, oh. Just call on me when you need a friend. When you need a friend, yeah. Let me break it down. This one goes out to anybody who's lost somebody. See, I know what it feels like to lose someone you love. Yeah. When you're feeling low, you are not alone. Sending love out to the NHS. Sending love out if you're in distress. Ooh, you know you can call me whenever you need a friend. Just call me.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamb.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamb@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Prampram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Prampram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. The of darkness.
So what did that
myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on the CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Starr Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Hey, hey, hey. 10 men share $10, and one man who gets. It's a disgrace. Where is the dollar? Where is the dollar? Where is the dollar? Where is the dollar? Where is the dollar? Where is the dollar? Give gorilla bananas to give to monkey. Hey, hey, hey. Give gorilla bananas to give to monkey. He says he knows. He no go see banana, banana. He no go see banana. Monkey no go see banana, banana. He no go see banana.
Okay, listeners, Starr Radio UK. You know, interestingly, I've got my own brother, Kojo D, in the house this morning. I was shouting his name. But yeah, he's in the house as well. And my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy, in the house, making sure that I'm taking along good. But well, in the next, we've got about another 26 minutes to round out the program. And as I did say, this afternoon, there's going to be the BB Clement, BB's business with BB Clement, and today the topic that's going to be looking at is how to get that dream job. Are you looking for a job? Is that the dream one that you want? Have you written your CV on all the covering letter or whatever thing that you want to do? Are you satisfied with it? Or you think that you need some inputs to make sure that whatever you are putting across is good? If you are, or you're not sure, then please make sure that you listen to this program exactly at 1:30. So after the program, we'll just go away and just prepare the ground for BB Clement to come in to bring you that program. But the announcement that I brought your way before we started the broadcast pertaining to this lady, an 82-year-old Ghanaian woman who is lost. Okay, I don't know whether she is lost. So she's not lost. She's with the police. So that means that she is found, but her family are lost. Okay, and she cannot remember where she lives. And so if there's a picture on the screens at the moment. So if you know her, they say she was found wandering around the South Landing area. So please contact the police if you know her, or if it is your family, the best thing to do is to report her missing, all right? And then they can put the things together and then they'll find her for you, okay? All right, then. So it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. Now let's move on. Let's have a look at some of the stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. As I did say earlier on, the news that is making the most rounds this morning pertains to what is happening in Turkey and Syria area due to the earthquake that took place yesterday. The first one and the second one. I mean, how much pain can people take? But well, they've been going through that. And as we did announce earlier on, if you have any support, please make sure every little will help them greatly there. Okay, but information coming through this morning from the UK front. Deaths of Epsom College head teacher Emma Patterson, her 7-year-old daughter Letty, and her husband George is being investigated by police as a murder-suicide. So what exactly went on there? It's a place that I really know. I mean, it's close to us, and therefore we know that place. And the lady was also she was a former head teacher of one of the, I think, Croydon College, one of the schools here in Croydon. So it is quite a challenging time, but more information will be coming your way from that front. But if you want to say anything, or you have anything to say pertaining to that, feel free to do so. Now, trapped quick, victims send voice notes from the rubble is one of the stories making the rounds on the international scene. An international rescue effort is underway following the huge earthquake in Turkey and Syria that has killed more than 5,000 people. The World Health Organization is saying that it could rise up to about 20,000 because people under the rubble still. But so an international aid effort is being stepped up in southern Turkey and northern Syria following a huge earthquake that has killed more than 5,000 people. Rescuers are racing to save people trapped beneath the rubble after thousands of buildings collapsed in both countries. A Turkish journalist said that people are sending him another journalist video, voice notes, and their live locations from under the rubble. The 7.8 magnitude quake struck near Gaziantep in the early hours of Monday while people were asleep, and the 7.5 magnitude tremor then hit at around 13:30 local time, that's 10:30 GMT, which officials said was not an aftershock. The country's disaster agency says more than 3,419 people were killed in Turkey alone after the first quake, and more than 1,500 were injured. More than 1,600 people are reported to have died in Syria as well. So putting it all together, my goodness, we have to be praying for them. But wherever you are, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well, one of Ghanaian's footballers, a former national footballer as well, Christian Atsu, he has been removed from the wreckage with injuries after the earthquake. I know people were concerned about him. Now, footballer Christian Atsu has been pulled from the rubble of a building with injuries after the earthquakes in Turkey. His club vice president, Mustafa Ozat, has told a Turkish radio. Atsu, who plays for Hatayspor, was trapped after the earthquake that have killed at least 4,800 people. The ex-Ghana forward, 31, played 107 games for Newcastle and has had spells with Chelsea, Everton, and Bournemouth. Now, Hatayspor sporting director Tana Savit is still in the collapsed building. Now, Hatar was one of the areas closer to the epicenter of the earthquake and has suffered extensive damage. Christian Atsu was removed from the wreckage with injuries, Ozat told Radio Go. Now, unfortunately, our sporting director, Tana Savot, is still under the rubble. Hatay was deeply affected, as I did say earlier on. But interestingly, I've been talking about the wife and the children of Christian Atsu, which we don't have information of, but we promise you that as and when we have any information pertaining to that, we'll bring it to the fore. But it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. I'm going to bring you some lovely tune, and then we'll move on to Africa. We'll see whether Kojo has time. Maybe he'll chip in one or two, and then we'll see before we bring the program to close there. Well, in Ghana, as I did say earlier on, well. The pensioners are saying that, they are camping at the finance ministry because they don't want the government to touch the pensions bond, their funds. They don't want it touched, because if they touch it, when are they going to be able to give them their monies back? How are they going to survive? Even with the money that is being given them, the people are dying left, right, and center. Now, how much more if their monies are stopped? Well, lots more going to be coming your way from there. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Well. Ash says something there. What is Ash saying? He says, no woman, no cry. Enjoy it, and I'll be with you.
don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. Said I remember when we used to sit.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Around the world. About observing the hypocrites. Mingle with the good people with me. Good friends they have, and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I said. No man, no cry. No woman, no cry. Here, little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. Said I remember when we used to sit in the government yard entrenched out. And then Georgie would make the fire light as it was. Love would burning through the night. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, of which I'll share with you. And my feet is my only courage.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world.
Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. No woman, no cry. Cry, cry. No woman, no cry. Oh, yeah. No woman, no cry. No observing the hypocrites. Mingle with the good people with me. Good friends they have, and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I said. No man, no cry. No woman, no cry. Here, little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. Said I remember when we used to sit in the government yard entrenched out. And then Georgie would make the fire light as it was. Love would burning through the night. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, of which I'll share with you.
In your car, at home. This is Starr Radio. This is Starr Radio UK.
And I've got to push on through.
Okay, yeah, we got only about 30 minutes to bring the program to a close. But don't we worry. During next week we'll be having Kojo D joining in and bringing his take on all the issues that is going on. For today, he said that you know what, I want to be part of the production team, joining Mr. Francis Gaye to do all the rest of the production bit there. Well, so he's going to be feeding with information that we need to be looking at. But it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. So now moving on straight to Ghana. NDC resolves minority reshuffle impasse. And then I was asking the question that, do you think that reshuffle that took place will bring about a division in the front? And as we say, if the front is divided, that means for sure you're not going very, very far. But somehow, information coming through says that they've resolved the issue going on. The opposition National Democratic Congress Council of Elders have resolved the challenges that characterize the reshuffle of the minority caucus in Parliament. There was heavy tension among the rank and file of the NDC upon the release announcing a reshuffle with the minority leadership in Parliament. At least 44 MPs believed the decision by the party was unfair and unpopular and signed a petition to reject same. Another group of 77 MPs also reportedly signed a different petition to endorse the decision of the party. However, after several interventions from the former President John Mahama and NDC Council of Elders, tensions came under control. A statement signed by the chairman of the Council of Elders, Alhaji Mahama Idrisu, stated that the council has implored the MPs to accept the decision of the party leadership and work with the newly appointed leadership of the caucus. The opposition was discussed with my apologies. The position was discussed with the representatives of the petitioners, who fully appreciated the stance of the council and offered to communicate same to the petitioners. It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, when it comes to the bond, now, what do you think is happening there? And what do you think the pensioners are going to do about it? Anything? Any more? Well, now pensioners are supposed to picket. They picketed yesterday at the finance ministry, and today they said they're going to picket for the next 10 days until the government changes its mind. But information coming through is that, well, no moves or stands by government have been made yet, so we hope to see what is happening. Now, but breaking story coming through from Ghana, talks about K.T. Hammond, a new trade minister, Brian Achampon, heads to a great ministry. Somebody say, is it because we share the same surname? That's why. Nah. The president of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has made new ministerial appointments. Now, Kobina Tahiru Hammond has been appointed Minister of Trade and Industry, while Brian Achampon will now head the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Other appointments are Stephen Asamoah Boateng for Ministry of Chieftaincy, Mohammed Amin Adam, Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, and Osei Bonsu Amoah as Minister of State for Local Government. Now, Stephen Amoah, the Member of Parliament for Ishaiso, is to serve as a Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. These new appointments by the President, which were announced by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, have come about following the recent resignation of Alan Shermanton as Minister of Trade, Afriyo Wusua Kuto as Minister of Food and Agriculture, and Ebenezer Kojokum as Minister of Chieftaincy. Well, it's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. 21 minutes to the top, to the end of the program. Let me put it that way. But wherever you are, stay tuned. Don't touch the dial. I've got to move straight to some of the other stories making the rounds on the African continent, and this time around going straight to Somaliland. Information coming through says that 10 people have been killed in clashes in contested Somaliland towns. Now, the story says the Somali government armed militia has killed more than 10 people in clashes with forces from the self-declared Republic of Somaliland in a disputed town in the northern region, sources said on Monday. In town Las Anod is claimed by both Somaliland and semi-autonomous Puntland region, which is loyal to Mogadishu. Hours before Monday's clashes, traditional leaders in Sul territory, where Las Anod is located, issued a statement pledging to support the unity and integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia, urging Somaliland authorities to withdraw their forces from the area. Somaliland Interior Minister Mohammed Khan Ahmed accused militias allied with traditional leaders of attacking military camps. At around 5:30 a.m. this morning, armed forces with mortars and rockets propelled grenades attacked National Armed Forces camps, Mr. Ahmed told journalists. Journalist coming away from Starr Radio UK. Somebody will say, Yembre. All right, then. Get into the tail end. Now, I think I need Kojo, just 1 minute. I need to find a take on something. That's the Russia and some African countries, the issue that is going on. It will just be a quick one. But listeners, just bear with us whilst I get his camera on, and then we can go straight to him. But once I get his camera on, Kojo, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Archie. Kojo is in a casual dress mode. So he shouldn't be gotten on the radio. Okay. So put the camera on. It's perfect. Yes. Yeah. So I was part of the production team. When you do production, you're always casually dressed.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
I know most of our listeners will be like, you've been away for a long time.
Yeah, sure, that's true. I've been away for a very, very long time, for ages now. But everything is on course. I lost track a bit somewhere. Yeah, but I'm here.
Yeah. Thank God. Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a quick one on the events that have taken place in Turkey. Now, how do you see that? Yesterday they were talking about, or even this morning, whilst we were in feeding in with some of the feeds that's coming from Ghana as well, Christian Achu, who has been pulled out of the rubble and stuff like that. I mean, that is a serious issue.
It's a serious issue. If you see some of the videos, houses disappearing within not just one house, a whole 6 floor or 8 floors or 10 floors of flats disappearing within a minute.
Yeah.
Someone said a F open and swallow them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's we're now talking over 5,000 people have lost their lives. And the number keeps growing. I won't say by the hour, by the minute. Because there's so many, and the weather situation is so bad. There's snow forecast in both Turkey and Syria. Don't ever forget. Here's a case: aid workers cannot even enter Syria. So they are in a worst case scenario compared to people in Turkey. The Turkish president is already comparing it to the previous earthquake that took so many lives of people. Maybe about the worst earthquake in the last 100 years.
Wow.
So if you're thinking about that, then it's a massive problem. I don't know how even aid workers are going to try to dig up people. They could still hear people in the rooms.
One of the was saying that they could hear people were sending messages,
exactly,
voice notes where their locations
that they should be helped, and people are digging with their hands. I don't know how you could dig with your hands. How many hours is it going to take to dig with your hands? I mean, that shows the level of frustration and how desperate the people are to at least get people out of the wreckage. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I do say nations around. UK has already dispatched a lot of people, and the only thing I haven't heard is how their neighbors are also dispatching people, but everything is just falling on Western countries, and that worries me a bit. That when it comes to this, is either the Western countries, is either China. I mean, China is also doing its bit. As of yesterday, China was also doing their bit. But seriously, I haven't heard their closest rich neighbors yet saying what they've done. Apart from this morning, I hear 53 countries have pledged to send aid and support, but I didn't drill down into those numbers. But I hope and desperately pray that some of their rich neighbors, like Saudi Arabia, is also playing its
they got a means.
I mean, I know some West African countries will be shouting now that they also send people to help, but they are incapable.
We don't have the technology. Maybe we have to carry that.
I'm saying that because I heard some people in Nigeria saying when the Ukraine war started, they're also going to Ukraine to fight, to help. I don't know how they're going to help.
But let's come to the final story that I wanted us to have a look at, and then we can go. We're talking about the the Russian war or Russian aggression on Ukraine at the moment, because we said that Ukraine has not gone to attack Russia, but Russia that is trying to do that. And we talk about South Africa. Last week we had the Russians and the South Africans going into some military exercises. The South Africans have decided that we don't want to be part of whatever is going on. We don't want to condemn whatever is going on. We know that the Belarus, Belarus, yes, their leader also went to Zimbabwe. Last week. Okay, and now we have Mali, the Sahel region, where because of the insecurity issues that is going on, the UN had brought few people, troops there. We had them, the Malian authorities, they are calling them the junta. I said, when you're not part of them, they'll call you junta.
Junta.
Yeah. So they have driven out the French, but they don't want the French to be there any longer. And now, yesterday, they also gave listen to the UN security chief there that he should leave the country. They gave an ultimatum of 48 hours to leave. But this is the case where the French, the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has visited the Mali. So it looks like the African countries seem to be shifting their stance, whether we are now going to the East, let me call them the East, that Russia and China and all those. What is happening there?
I mean, it's a change in the whole geopolitics as we see it. So, with South Africa, you can go probably back to 2014 when the 2013-2014 when we had all that Syrian issue. And they took sides with Russia, and Russia decided to go into Syria when Britain and America and France were talking about UN resolution. And of course, David Cameron was voted against by the UK Parliament, so they couldn't actually be part of the whole thing. And Obama took a stance that he wants to hear from the Senate. And the whole red line kind of thing was crossed. Obama's red line. They weren't effective to do anything, but they saw that the Russians desperately protected their ally Syria, and later on went in and bumped off any opposition within the civil war that is not aligned to the Syrians. But the basic premise, of course, they fought out IS, but that was the basic premise they went into, that they were crashing out ISIS. But what happened in the aftermath? They were not only crashing out ISIS, but they crashed every opposition. And they saw that Russia stood by Syria. So I think that is the picture that has emerged. That when it comes to push and shove, when it comes to difficult situations, they think Russia is going to stand with them. And of course, when you look at Mali's story, they are throwing out the West. So who are they going to go to technically?
Well, the East.
They have to go to Russia, and Russia is building a new Soviet empire. And of course, not only building a new Soviet empire, they are becoming exerting their influence over global affairs, and they're becoming a strong man when it comes to global issues. And I think some African countries have seen that. Look, Western countries are powerless to do anything with Russia. So where do we go to? If these Western countries are saying we're a junta, we are not recognized government, and somebody is ready to recognize us. Hey, let's shift our allegiance to that country. So that is really what is happening. And I don't know how we're going to put it, but I mean, when it comes to difficult decisions to make, at the end of the day, who is going to be your partner in making those difficult decisions? And they think Russia will stand by them. So I think that is where the shift is happening.
But it looks like they've been, I mean, the Russians have been there for a while now.
They have.
I mean, they having their, what do they call them? They have their own, it's not the Russian security, but they have some mercenaries. Some
they had it.
Who are there?
Yeah.
Okay, but and I think they were saying that they've given them some mines or something as a way of paying them for their services that they are rendering.
Yeah, of course.
But what impact have they made so far? Has the insurgency stopped or what?
It hasn't, because as we all know, insurgency and ISIS, they are like ghosts.
Yeah,
they appear in one place and they disappear. They appear in another place. So it's difficult to actually track them down. With the terrain of Africa, there's so many places to hide. I mean, that was the situation in Afghanistan. There's so many places for the Taliban to hide. So the only way to track them down, I don't know. Russia needs money.
Yeah.
As we already know, they need so much to support all their ongoing war efforts. And we also already know that, look, let's face it, Russia is not going anywhere when it comes to issues with Ukraine. They're going to be there as long as they want. They can drag on the war as long as they want. And they know also very well that Western countries are not ready to have any kind of confrontation with them.
They're
fairly much aware
to come and bomb them or
they know. So wherever they think they can also flex their muscles, they will do it. And that is what is happening. Although they need money, so they say, okay, Mali, you don't have money to pay us. What else do you have that you can use to pay us for these services? And they say, okay, we can give you gold mine. And they mine the gold and they sell it. But what can the Western countries do to stop it? Nothing.
Wow.
And as a result of that, the Malian government, the current military government, is becoming stronger. Because it has the backing of Russia. So
it's interesting.
And from sources, Burkina Faso is also leaning towards Russia
as well.
And that in earlier part of this year or towards the end of last year created some kind of tension between Ghana and Burkina Faso. I mean, where is it going to stop? With African countries.
Ghana will also now have to listen with the Russians.
I think what the picture that is being painted, if you're military, you are safer going with Russia. So if two West African military countries have gone with Russia and they have been afforded that welcome protection, other military governments will. And don't forget, Zimbabwe is a pseudo military government. Because they put the current Mnangagwa in place. So it's a pseudo military government. They control him. So where are they going to go? They're also pitching their tent with
the
Russians. Hey, given the fact that, how old is he? 80 years. Should he be where he is? No. And he still wants to stand for another election. I mean, so everyone that is thinking militarily will be heading towards Russia.
Interesting. Interesting. Which African country do you see at the moment who is also now going to be throwing their hats in? Maybe it's a democracy, but you think that somehow they will also join this league?
Well, there are quite a number of dictators out there. So practically think of every dictatorship.
Uganda
can throw their hat, but Uganda is too proud at the moment, so they're not going to do it. The one that I'm worried is going to do it is Cameroon, but the French still has a bit of grip on that country. But if they have a way, they will go. Because the dictator there wants to maintain his grip on the people. How old is he? He's nearly 90. Pobea doesn't want to get out of power. He's nearly 90.
Okay, Kojo, use your headphones. I think we've got Felix on the line. Let's go to Felix. Felix, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. Happy 2023.
Happy 2023 to you too. Yes. It's been quite a while. I've been giving a shout out. I said my brother, he's been very, very busy. So, yeah.
No, sometimes it's good to listen. So sometimes we do the listening rather than talking.
Okay. Yes. What do you want to say, sir?
Right. Where do we start? Shall we start with condolences? Maybe thoughts to those who have either lost relatives or friends who they maybe know by now that they have, or those who are still waiting to get some news. In relation to whatever has happened to their relatives in Turkey, in Syria, and perhaps other countries that may have suffered shocks or aftershocks or tremors. Maybe it's not appropriate to be discussing some of these things, but maybe we should also learn a lesson. For those of us coming from parts of the world where we never seem to learn any lessons. I believe that in Ghana we've been having these tremors around McCarthy Hill area, around parts of Accra. It is just a matter of time. We may not want to hear this, but it is just a matter of time. You know, these tremors don't happen for a reason. If you've even studied A-level geography, you would know. If you've even done some O-level geography, and you have interest in geography, you would know that these tremors are little signs. If you know of anybody from Turkey or that part of the world and you speak with them, they'll be telling you that we experience tremors all the time. And then the big one sets in one day. Unfortunately, in our parts of the world, everything is chaotic. You know, we don't even build properly. So a downpour of rain for 30 minutes, it's a problem. I don't know how whoever survived anything like this, even on maybe about 6 or 6.5 on the Richter scale, because what we get in Accra and people panic and buildings have cracks. Most often than not 3 point something, maximum just about 4. So you can imagine if you get to about even 5, because the impact of this is not it works on sort of like on a geometrical basis. You know, it's not by every scale the impact is more significant, if I may put it that way. It doesn't work like, you know, 1 + 1 is 2 and that sort of thing. By every measure that it rises on the Richter scale, the impact is significant. Which then brings a certain, you know, thought. Should people even be building in some of these areas? Should we even be building cities in these areas? Because if you look at the nature of devastation, whatever effort you've made in creating wealth and building these cities, it's all come to nothing. Is it really worth people living in some of these areas?
I don't think so.
I know there are sentimental issues. People think, I was born here, my grandparents were born here, my great-grandparents were born here, we've been living here all our lives, we're not going to move. But at what point in time do you... Because if you speak to geologists, they will tell you that earthquake itself doesn't kill. It is the buildings that we build on some of these, in some of these areas that really end up creating the damage. Because if all these places happen to be farmlands, you wouldn't see this level of devastation. Of course, sometimes earthquakes are strong enough to open up the land. And then you have cracks in the land and that sort of thing. But if these were to be farmlands, you know, with minimal level of human habitation, would we get this extent of damage?
No.
I doubt that. But maybe that's a thought for another day. And it's something for us, you know, coming from parts of Ghana where we are prone to go by the other side of the law rather than living strictly to what the law says and what building standards says, and people wanting to construct 100 blocks of concrete cement from one bag of cement bag, rather than you know, things like that. And even those who are building properly in some of these developed countries, such as Japan, we all see the devastation sometimes they have to face.
And how much more hours that is useless.
Yes, and saying that, look, I can't put all my money into foundation. Why should I put all the money into foundation? I want to see the building. So they cut corners. And then they build all sorts of things, and it rains for 30 minutes, your building can't start. If your building can't start 30 minutes of rain, what chance does it have? Standing
earthquake.
What in Ghana language you call kukudu. This is what kukudu means.
Yeah.
For those people who belong to the MPP who don't know what kukudu means, this is what kukudu is, an earthquake. That's the Ghana translation of an earthquake. It is devastating, but our prayers is because in spite of all the challenges, sometimes they can still pull people out of the rubble. Sometimes 72 hours. And so far as you are getting oxygen into your system, there's a possibility that you may survive a little bit more. And so far as you don't have any serious injuries, there is a possibility. But it can be different. If you look at some of the devastation, some of the buildings were coming down as if it's been
like cards. Of course.
Yes, it is like organized.
Demolition. Demolition.
Destruction of buildings. I mean, the way they were coming down, it's heart-wrenching, but it's difficult to think of anybody surviving in a situation like this. Unless there are people living in maybe underground basins. I really, it's sad, but we can all keep our fingers crossed for people who survive this sort of trauma. But look, it's not for me to say these sort of things. I mean, under the Soviet era, they were able to move mass populations like that. Either to build nuclear power plants and move people from one part of a country to another. Ideally, this is what possibly you have to do. Because what's the point of living in a place where it's identified as an epicenter of an earthquake-prone zone? What really are you trying to achieve in the end? That some way, somehow, you will build something that will be able to withstand these things when they happen. In my short life on Earth, I've seen or certainly heard of many earthquakes in countries such as Italy, Turkey, Syria, and Japan on fairly regular basis. So you wonder that if there are parts of these countries where it's safer for people to live, maybe you should concentrate human habitation in some of these places, irrespective of the sentimental issues at stake, and maybe leave these places that are earthquake-prone zones in some of these countries to the wild. Whether you build forest, reserves or farmland, just make it places where they will have minimal human habitation. You can still have economic activity there. I mean, if you build farms over there, you still have economic activity, but you're going to have minimal level of human habitation. And yes, there will be these, damages coming, but you're not going to have this sort of problem. Because you wonder, all the wealth that has been built over hundreds of years, it's literally come to naught. And you have to start all over again.
Monies that have been wasted.
And what's the point of starting all over again? In an area where you know that certainly in the next 25, 30 years,
something
you're going to experience something like this.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know whether the leaders think about it or because some people think, this is where my great-great-grandfather lived and therefore that's where we are. But I don't think it makes sense at all. If not, we should have lived like we were living in
I can understand if you are densely populated on a small island and there's not enough space like Japan. A country of well over 100 million people, but on a small island. So it becomes a bit of a problem. Where do you move people to? But if you have land, a bit of land, like a country such as Turkey, then perhaps you have to take a bold strategic decision to maybe do a mass relocation of people. It's going to cost a bit of money. There will be sentimental issues because you are moving people from their traditional homeland. Effectively, you are displacing them in their own country. But if that is the way forward, then that's what you have to do. And I may be wrong here, but that's something, because let's be honest, if you were to be locating nuclear power plants in some of these areas, you would have to move people.
Of course. Of course.
Yes, because you can't let them live close to radiation plants that closely. So if you consider this as equally as dangerous such as that, although, I mean, nuclear damage and accidents will last for a longer period of time, then you may have to start thinking, maybe it's about time that you say that, look, for these places, human habitation, very minimal, only for maybe agricultural purposes, forest reservations, things like that. But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Now, regarding some of these African countries making strategic choices, look, if you're an African leader, just look at what has happened to Libya, and you can decide whether you wish to have an international ally with the military power to support you when you're in need. Just imagine what would have happened to Syria had the Assad government not had an agreement with the Russian government.
Yeah.
You would have known by now who will be in charge of Damascus.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Assad.
No.
It would be some people, with dubious, characters, which is what has happened to Libya. I mean, some people forget that one of the problems that Europe is facing now, which is a mass exodus of young Africans coming into southern part of Europe, it was an issue that would have popped up long time ago.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been because of the wealth of the Libyan state, which was providing jobs for young Africans. You may like Gaddafi or you may not like him, but I take the view that for some of us, if you've lived in a life where your grandparents told you that one day it will be better, you are now also beginning to tell your children one day it will be better, that is a sign of failure. Whether anybody likes it or not, most Libyans were economically sufficiently provided for by their country.
Oh, yes.
They were not working in London doing 2 hours here, 2 hours there, 2 hours here, 2 hours there. I never saw any Libyan doing 2 hours here, 2 hours there when I lived in London.
No.
And in fact, if you saw them at all, they were in universities doing their PhD.
Yeah,
they were not looking around for part-time jobs.
Consultants when I went
like
to
some of the
UN,
brothers who are looking for part-time jobs, security jobs while doing their PhD. So whatever anybody thinks of Gaddafi, he spent vast amounts of the wealth of his country in his country on his people. In our part of the world, it's now like a normal routine. You have to get an undergraduate degree and get a master's, and then see if you know somebody with connection to people in high places before you can even get the opportunity of getting a job. And as for our sisters, sometimes some of the things they have to go through before they even get into the job environment, you don't want to talk about it on radio. How many Libyan girls were doing slave queens during Gaddafi's time?
None. You wouldn't hear that.
Yes, that's the question. I mean, so if you see how the guy invested in his country, because some people in the West didn't like him, look at what they've turned his country to. A lot of people forget that at some point in time, when some African countries were struggling even to pay their United Nations dues, yearly dues, Libya was paying for that. Because some of the countries that they were so financially constrained or effectively bankrupt to the extent that they couldn't even pay their dues at major international their dues with major international organizations such as the United Nations and so on and so forth. He was paying for that. Yes, he was a very difficult character. He wasn't the perfect man. He had his shall we say, difficult side. Some may describe him as his bad side. His involvement in the war in Liberia, supporting Charles Taylor initially, and all the rest of it, causing some problems in countries such as Chad and Sudan and so on and so forth. But can you name me any leader in the world who is an angel?
None.
And at the end of the day, this was a guy who was interested in investing in the African project. One of the problems that we are facing now that your finance minister is begging to go to the IMF and saying that if you don't get to the IMF in the next 6 weeks, we are effectively going to be bankrupt. If he doesn't know that we are already bankrupt, then I don't know what he's thinking of at the finance ministry. It's because he wanted to deal with the problem of these fluctuating African currencies. Having all little currencies all over the place that nobody really pays attention to. He was going to help us use vast amounts of his oil wealth and the gold that is acquired over many years to back a single currency for our countries. I mean, who really thinks that this is a bad idea? Yet his country has been wrecked, and because he also was a bit naive, he didn't sign some of these military pacts. He should have done that. He should have learned from the experiences of the likes of Lumumba, the likes of Nkrumah, who did not have such pacts, and as a result, we all know what happened to them. So, if an African leader, whether it's a leader in Zimbabwe or some other country, is trying to do that kind of pact, or some of these francophone countries are beginning to do now, Guinea and Burkina Faso, look, at the end of the day, the first thing is to make sure that your country is safe. Then the second thing, you deal with the economic issues. And then the third thing, you can deal with the other issues, whether in terms of the creative arts, democracy, and all those kind of rights of human beings and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But the first thing, make sure that your country is safe. Second thing, address the economic issues. And the third thing, you can talk about the ancillary issues, the rights for this and that, and, all those things that they tell us, maybe whether our young men want to be women or our women want to be young men. You can do, those are, I would say, not necessarily trivial issues, but those are not pertinent issues when you are building a country.
Yeah.
So if African leaders are looking for people who guarantee their safety, well, so be it. Insofar as those African leaders are not so corrupt like Mobutu Sese Seko and many others that we have seen, I don't have an issue with that. Because let's be honest, we don't have the technology. One of the reasons that Gaddafi was taken out, sorry I'm taking a bit of your time, but one of the reasons that Gaddafi was taken out, he just did not have the capacity to fight the countries that were trying to kill him, to fight, to take on the area battle. So they dominated his airspace within just a matter of days. He did not have the technology, the area technology to meet them toe-to-toe in terms of, bombs being dropped from the air from F-16s and goodness knows aircraft that Navy used at the time. Now, it's going to take a long time for us to get there, if we have to get there at all, or if we will ever get there at all. So just sign a pact with a country that has that technology. And Russia is one such country in the world at the moment. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Wow. Felix, let me say thank you very, very much for your input this afternoon as well. Okay, listeners, Olayomi Kilanko says, Gabi says, good afternoon to Starr Radio UK, Archie, and all the team there. Yes, we say good afternoon to you as well. Kojo, we have to run up. Looking at Nigeria, I mean, just a quick one, there we go. They're supposed to have their elections, but looking at all the insecurity, and now they're talking about the naira scarcity, and they're talking about fuel, a country, the sixth largest crude, production country
in the world,
struggling to have fuel for their people. I mean, do you think 18 days time that election will hold or not?
Well, as you know, African countries will go ahead and the elections will take place there because somebody wants to be president, in spite of all the economic difficulties they have. So Nigeria's story is a very sad story. They could have been the Saudi Arabia of Africa, but it's all been mismanaged. For over the years, several previous presidents have stolen money. Currently, I understand Nigeria hasn't even got an oil refinery to refine the crude oil they have. That same reason applies to Ghana. Ghana has also got an oil refinery. When I was growing up in Ghana as a child, there was always an oil refinery. Yeah, but they don't have it anymore. It's been shut down. Nigeria has shut down its oil refineries. I'm not sure where all these countries are going. Look, if it's money they don't have, what do we call it? What did the UK do here? They printed more money into their system.
Quantitative easing.
Of course. So the UK talks about the owe money in trillions.
Yeah.
Really? Do they owe money? Who do they owe? They owe money to the Bank of England.
Yeah.
Who printed money for them. So they owe trillions. So why wouldn't Nigeria government print money for Nigeria and owe further trillions?
After all, they printed new money, and
they owe so much money. They owe so much money. Print more. put into the system. Ease on
Inflation will be like flying like
no, I mean inflation in Africa is going to be flying all the time. Look, how do you stabilize inflation in Africa? There is no production. The production capacity of African countries is so small, and the population is forecast to be the biggest population at by 2050. That's barely how many years from now? 24, 24, 25, 26 years from now.
Wow.
What do you do to meet the needs of such a growing population when economies are seeing a downturn? I don't know. I don't know really. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, because the countries have been run poorly. But Nigeria elections will still take place because someone has to be president and someone has to look after the country. We don't know who is going to be the leader of the country until after the elections.
Okay, Kojo, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio. And to Felix as well, and to our reporter on the ground today, Olayinka, all the way in Turkey, and Miss Olayomi Koike, and my able producer, Mr. Francis Gaye. We want to say thank you very, very much. But Kojo, before we go.
Well, we say good afternoon to everybody, and keep this space open. You'll probably hear me more on the air. It's a promise I've made, so you're going to start hearing more from me. And to everybody else, we say have a lovely, lovely afternoon. Have a lovely day wherever you are. You might not be in the UK. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep safe.
Okay, keep safe, keep safe, keep safe. Thank you very much to each and every one of you for tuning in to listen to us today. Yet it's been a pleasure coming your way once again. And as I did say, announced earlier on today, this afternoon is going to be coming live in the next few minutes. Call it 30 minutes thereabout. I'm going to be having BB Clement on BB Means Business today. Is are you a student? Have you graduated? Are you now looking for your dream job? Well, you want to do so? How to get that dream job is what she's discussing this afternoon. So make a date with her. And on that note, I say, tops of the day to you all, and see you all tomorrow. It's me, Archie, Mr. Kojo Dake, and all the rest saying have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now. Take this tune from AJBia. It's a cover version of Papa Yangsing's song Tinamin Chain means stay with me. And when that song ends, you don't hear from us. Then we say bye.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening.